Are you ready to take control of your finances with Profit First and wondering what to do about the banking setup if you're in the UK? Well, let's get started setting up your bank accounts the right way. Hi, my name is Annette Ferguson from Annette Co, and we've been Profit First certified since 2015. Today, I'm going to walk you through the steps to set up your UK bank accounts from a Profit First perspective so that you can make those allocations on a regular basis. Having the right bank accounts in place is crucial for implementing the Profit First system effectively. Let's dive in and get you set up. So there's a different setup whether you're using the traditional high street type banks or whether you're using a challenger bank like Monzo or Starling. We personally use Starling, as do a lot of our clients, but you can still use the traditional high street banks to do this as well. So with the challenger banks, what you will find is you will have a main bank account and then you'll have pots or spaces. So you can work this in a couple of ways. First of all, the money will come into the main bank account. That's how they all work. And that bank account, some people use that solely as their expenses account. So when the money comes in, every day they sweep out the income into an income pot or space. Some people don't like to do that because it's more admin. And so they use the main bank account as kind of really their income and their operating expenses. You have to be a little bit careful with doing that, but that is how some people like to operate it. So if you sweep it out into an income space, then once a week you want to sweep that back into the operating expenses so you can allocate out to your other spaces or pots, the profit, tax, owner's pay, and then you would leave the balance in operating expenses in the main bank account. You might also actually want some other pots or spaces in there. Typical ones that clients have is VAT to separate that out and payroll as well. Anything that you might be spending annually that's a big expense, you might also want a separate pot or space for that too. The other way to do it, as I mentioned, is not to sweep out that income into a separate space, but to keep it all in the main current account. That, as I said, you need to be a little bit careful that you're not overspending on operating expenses there, but it can be done that way too. The other way is if you have a traditional bank, and if you have a traditional high street bank, then what will happen is, again, some people combine that income and operating expenses in their current account, and other people have two separate accounts for it. Profit First strictly says that you should have two separate accounts. It reduces the temptation of overspending from your operating expenses account and does help a bit, but it's not always possible to have that either. And so you would have your income and operating expenses account ideally as separate current accounts with your traditional bank, and then all the other accounts you would have as savings accounts. Now you need to be a little bit careful here because some high street banks will charge you extra bank fees for having multiple bank accounts. So check that out and make sure that you're not going to be charged excessively. And if you are, you might even want to consider changing to a different bank that does not charge you those fees. You also want to make sure that you're choosing a bank that has ease of transfers between the pots or spaces or separate bank accounts so that you can make sure that you do those allocations easily, regularly, and that they're not going to be a pain and a hurdle point for you in getting this implemented. To recap, you want to choose which bank you want to go with. Are you going to go with a traditional high street banking setup, or are you going to go with one of the challenger banks like Starling or Monzo? Then you need to decide if you're going to have your income being separated out and from your OPEX. That is the recommended setup. And then decide which pots or spaces or separate savings accounts you're going to have set up. At a very minimum, you need the profit account, the owner's pay, and the tax account. But very often we also have VAT as separate. Some people have PAYE as separate and payroll as a separate one as well as anything that you are saving for longer term. You may also want an emergency fund as a separate account or space too, so that you can make sure you're building that up. And if you're ready to dig deeper into Profit first of all, make sure that you give me a follow. You can also check out our blog, which will be somewhere around this video. And if you are looking for personalized support, please do reach out.